Hey there, welcome. It's Trent Cotton with Sprint Recruiting, answering some of the most common questions I get about the sprint recruiting methodology. So, just as a reminder, sprint recruiting was developed to basically get over four common pitfalls of traditional recruiting. The first pitfall is that everything is a priority, which means nothing is a priority. The process lacks any kind of rhythm or opportunity for you to improve it. And then clients and recruiters are also often misaligned on what's actually going on. And let's just face it, the feedback loop is completely broken. So, as a reminder, the four principles of sprint recruiting, the first one is the sprint itself, it creates efficiency in the process. The second is that the business or your client defines the prioritization. The third is that work in progress limits create focus and also that iterative efficiency. And then feedback is what keeps that process moving. So today I wanted to answer some of the common questions I get around prioritization. So, one of the biggest things that recruiters have an issue with is there's a lack of focus in prioritization. And there's a ton of studies out there that show our brain is naturally wired to prioritize information. Think about it: first, second, third, gold medal, silver medal, bronze, red, yellow, green. Our brains just naturally put some type of categorization and prioritization on the amount of information that we get. But if we look at how traditional recruiting normally goes, when you look at a job board, there's no prioritization. So if I'm looking at this one as an example, do I start with John Smith because it's been open the least amount of time? Or do I handle Christina Aguilera first because, she can be a little bit of a diva? There's nothing telling me where I should start my day and how I should prioritize my time as a recruiter. So the first step is we want to get that hiring manager or that group of hiring managers to decide which roles over a 2 week period are the most important ones for us to fill. So in this example, they picked maybe the top seven. The next step is to give them a budget of points. So in this example, we'll give them 100 points and basically say, I want you to further prioritize and tell me which roles are most important. So why use points? When the team and I were creating this process, we used red, yellow, green. We used high, medium, low. It was it was just really hard for us to be able to justify or define our success until we started using points. It was something that our clients understood, and we could give ourselves a grade at the end of the sprint as to did we do great, did we do mediocre, or did we completely miss the bar? So, my advice for prioritization is to start small and tread carefully. This is something that's very hard for recruiters to get their minds around, but it's also even more complicated to try and get managers to understand you're only going to work on certain roles in order as they assign the priority. First, let's go through what I call the impact matrix. So, on the left side or the y axis, you have the impact. That's the business impact. That is completely defined by the business. It could be if we don't get this role filled, we lose revenue or our chances of clients leaving us increases. So the business or your client owns that y axis. The x axis is the recruiter. So we all know that some roles require more effort than others, whether it's a very niche role that we have to do some pretty creative sourcing, it's a very competitive market, or there's just a ton of applicants we have to go through. Again, however you define the effort is completely up to you. So if we use this matrix, the first section of points that we want to get out of the way from our client is which ones are mission critical. So high business impact and also high effort on the recruiter. You want about 60% of your points going into those types of roles. And then moving to the next quadrant, you have mission necessary. So once those mission critical roles are filled, or you kind of hit your whip limit, you got enough progress going on, you want to move on to those mission necessary, which is still a lot of effort for the recruiter to find those candidates, but maybe not as impactful during that sprint to the business. You want about 20% of your points going there. Then you've got your next couple of sections, which is quick wins. That's high impact to the client, low effort. That could be carryover from the previous sprint. You had two high priority roles. The final interviews happen in the very last 2 days. We still want to keep our eye on the ball, but it's not going to be a lot of work or a lot of effort for the recruiter outside of making sure that we get feedback from the interview and potentially get offers out. And then everything that is filled that does not have points, we give it extra credit. I'll cover that topic in another video. So in our example, you see on the left side, you've got the sprint jobs, project manager, MIS analyst, data scientist. Let's say we went through this activity with our client and they went through and they gave us some priority. So the two most critical roles that are going to be 60 points total is the project manager and the data analyst or the data scientist. The supporting roles are project analysts because let's face it, you can't hire analysts until you have the project manager in place. So now that I've got the prioritization, now look at my job board. I know in this example, my most important role for that sprint that I need to be obsessed with is my 50 pointer for Richard Nixon. I'm going to work on that role and make sure that I hit the number of candidates to be interviewed, my whip limit with Rich Nixon. And once I do that, I'm going to stop working on that position until I get feedback and move on to Christina Aguilera's. It's just a very quick preview as to why prioritization works and how you can walk your clients through assigning a point value.